Hello, my name's Stuart Chignall and welcome to the part 3 in the video series we're doing on making a timber framed press, or how to make cider with an axe. And now we're getting to some of the fun stuff, which is actually using the tools. So in this video we're going to be using two tools. One is a German broadaxe and the other is a French builder's chisel. Which I'm not sure if you can get that all in shot. Is that all in shot? That's beautiful. Excellent. Now, these we'll show you how we're using this, just the last stage of cleaning up some of the knots. But I want to talk about the axes a little bit first. Now this is another German broadaxe. And this is a carpenter's axe. This is for building or for shaping construction timbers, things that you build big things out of, like, press beams, for example. But the point I want to make is, first of all, this is a right-handed axe, and the second thing is this point. You see how this comes to a point here. So this axe is made for chopping. It's made for bringing it down and with a chopping and pulling motion, slicing motion. That's what it does it really well. It's big, it's heavy, it's made to get rid of large amounts of wood as quickly as possible. And it's the axe that you use after you've used the roughing axe. This axe, fortunately, because I'm left-handed, is a left-handed axe. But if you notice, it's a lot smaller. Like, the weight difference between these two is remarkable. This is probably half the weight, maybe a little bit more than half the weight of this one. But it's a lot lighter. But also notice the toe of the axe has got this curved section. It doesn't come to a point. Now this is not a carpenter's axe. This is probably more like used for large pieces of furniture. It's not a hatchet. It's not a hewing hatchet that a furniture maker might use. But this is more like a cabinet maker's axe, or a coach builder's, or a wheelwright's axe. And you see pictures of axes like this in manuscripts where they're making all sorts of things, but they tend to be big bits of furniture, big projects. And this is a finishing axe. This is an axe that takes on the job of shaping the timber after the carpenter's axe has done its work. And for this job, where we're basically going to be dressing the timbers, it's perfect. And we'll get into showing you how we use it. But the first thing we have to do before we start work is we have to get one of the posts up and in place so we can start dressing it.
Now, before we get into the rest of the video, I wanted to give an explanation for why it's taken so long for this video to get out. It's been over 2.5 weeks since the last video. And the reason's been is because Morag hasn't been able to help me with the filming. And so I've had to make do with her understudy. Which, as you can see, the production values slipped a little.
And I can see what you're doing. I filmed in. I actually filmed in, I can see it even bigger. Not a knot. Really bad. Again. want to do next? How about getting that box there? Yep, he's getting it.
Blowout. That's good.
Blowout? What's a blowout?
Where the bottom corner blows out. So we're just looking for the where the grain will change direction and it will cut a little bit more easily. So if you see here, it's breaking rather than cutting. So that's the right grain. Oh no, it's not. See, that's breaking. So we want to keep going along the edge until no. There we go. Right. And see that how the little flakes are slicing off? Except it's changing direction again. So what we're doing is we're working up one side of the post and then we're coming down the other side of the post. And because it's a left-handed axe, we go up this way on this side and we come back that way on that side. So we'll clean that up when we roll the post over. So we'll just keep working along until we find any areas where the grain's going in the direction that this is what happens when you get when you're going the wrong direction with the grain. Now because the bright grain's coming out of the log towards me, pointing towards me, I've sort of got underneath a piece of the wood and it's broken off and snapped. And see this piece got a bit of blow up there. Do you see how that's curved? Mm. That's the challenge I'm having with this wood, is that because this tree came from a garden, we recovered it from someone's garden when they chopped the tree down near their house. This hasn't grown in a forest, so the grain isn't straight. Trees that are grown in plantation or an established forest, you get the grain is nice and straight. But this is curving all over the place, and that's why I'm having some trouble with following the grain pattern and doing the hewing. But you know, you've got to work with the wood that you've got. Right. So just turn the post through 90 degrees and you can see this feathered surface, which is the one we've just been working on, how they found any areas of clear grain. So now we're going to try and work on what was the bottom, and it's the same process. We get started, see if we've got clear grain to start with, which we do. But not for long, because there's the knot. It's probably a bit hard to get a sense of how much easier this is from the filming, but the shavings are just coming off, nice and smooth. And when the grain's in the right direction, this tool finish is quite smooth because the axe is so sharp. But you don't have any chips or splintering or breaking out until the grain changes direction. Because we don't need to take off much wood. I'm just trying to remove the evidence that I've cheated and used the Lucas mill to cut this timber rather than hewing it from the log entirely by hand. So if you see what's happening here, this is where we're stroking the cat head to tail in the right direction, you know, the comfortable direction. Then as we get to this knot here, the grain changes direction, and you see how it's getting rough? I'm not sure if you can see that in the photo or the video. You can see all these chips, and you can see this rough surface here. This is where it's breaking. Probably a bit easier if we go up here. And again, around the knot, the grains change direction. It's lovely and smooth here. It's like stroking the cat. And what's happening is the fibres here are coming out of the wood like this. So as the axe comes along, it's going with the fibres. But here, the grain changes direction. So as the axe comes along, it's hitting the ends of the fibres and picking them up and catching them and breaking them off. And that's why we get this splintering. So normally what I'd do is I'd rotate the beam through 90 degrees and then I'd be working on the other surface. And I'd come back the other direction. So here, left-handed axe, I'm working on the left-hand side of the post and the axe is here. When we turn this post through 180 degrees, essentially what we're doing is the axe is coming back this way and we're moving through here. And so all these areas where we've got problem grain, we can actually, when we turn it around, we're going in the right direction. But trying to film that is a bit tricky because the background behind the camera isn't very good. Doesn't give a very good contrast with the video. So what I'm going to do is actually use the axe upside down and show that how these areas will come out smooth when we approach it from the other direction. So we've got the knot here, and just turning it over, and you can see how that's nice and smooth there, but we've still got these chips here, these cracks where we were coming from the other direction. Well, we just go down a little deeper and that's all cleaned up. And as long as we don't go too far this way, if we were to go into this area, then that would start chipping because the grains change direction again. So you've got to keep an eye out on what the wood's doing, otherwise you don't get as good a finish. And similarly here, like if you see this is the first face we started on. We've got all these feathers where I was exploring the grain and it's all chipped. Well, I wouldn't normally do it this way because it's harder work. But just to show you, coming back this other direction, see how nicely those shave off. And that's what happens when you get working with the wood rather than against the grain. Working with the grain, it's just so much neater. Except, see there, getting close to that knot and the grains change direction, and now it's chipping again. So we want to go close to there, but we don't want to go too far. Right, well I think we've shown that. Now I'll show you what we're doing with the Bosegu. So I showed you the Bosegu at the start of the video. Essentially it's a double-ended builder's chisel. You found them in France and Germany, and the UK. I think you've got pictures in manuscripts. I think back to definitely the 14th century. I'm not sure about the 13th, but I think so. But anyway, what I'm using, this is a better tool just to clean up these problem areas of grain, and also to cut across the end grain of the knot. Just carefully exploring the direction that grain's going. It's very easy to get breakout with this because it's a much smaller cutting area, and you can put your whole body behind it with this because the chisel's got, it's got 4 foot of chisel. But that is just an easier way. It says making a mess of that knot. An easier way of just clearing up around the knot. So that's how we're dressing the timbers for the posts for the press. The posts are Californian redwood. They came out of a massive tree. It was over 2 meters wide, at 2 meters diameter at the base when it came down, and so we got a whole stack of wood out of that with the Lucas mill. that was about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years, and that's going to be good when it comes time to do the joinery, because the wood will be nice and stable. It's not going to distort on us afterwards, after we finish the work. It's bad because of some of the problems you saw while we're filming this, is that we get a lot of breakout, and the grain's quite unforgiving. In part, that's because the wood is so dry. It's the Australian summer here. We've had weeks of 30, 35, few days in a row of over 40 degrees, so the wood's really dry, and that makes it very brittle, which makes it difficult to work. So it was tempting to leave the saw marks on the posts, but since we'd gone to all the effort of hand hewing the beams for the press, wanted to capitalize, wanted to do a hand tilt finish for the whole thing, especially because we're going to be doing the joinery by hand entirely. The joinery is going to be entirely by hand. Anyway, hope that all made sense. If you haven't already done so, it'd be great if you could subscribe and make sure you hit the little bell to be on the YouTube channel, so that you know when videos are coming out. The next video is going to be the first video in the joinery for the press. And look, there's a bunch of other videos, other stuff that we do. Check out the Hedgerow Farm website. And yeah, stay tuned for the next one. And please, any questions, comments, that'd be great if you could put those in the the comment section below. And yeah, like and share and all those wonderful things. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.
In the background of this video you can see the apple pile, and here's a progress shot, give you a better view of it. So we've got to get a wriggle on, got to get this press built, because the fruit's already being picked, and the press needs to be ready. So stay tuned.